Fox show is gonna be on the red carpet doing her Xavia Fox red carpet thing.
Hey everybody! Yeehaw! Oh, you can't win, you're not in the game. Give me a beat. Hey everybody! Welcome to Xavia Fox Talks, and I am your host, Xavia Fox. Today we are doing the differences panel. Now, I don't know how many of you were on Facebook on Saturday when I posted about the show, but I want to dispel one big myth right now. Okay. I had 6 women scheduled for this show of different ethnicities. Now, there is this myth that black people are not dependable, you won't show up on time, all that kind of stuff. Well, this morning, on the day of the show, not the day before, not 24 hours notice, none of that. Today, I got 2 cancellations. Not from any of the black women. Right, the black women showed up. This morning I get a cancellation, and then not only did I get one this morning, 45 minutes before we filmed, I get a message that somebody's not showing up. Again, I just want to say all the black women showed up. So I just wanted to dispel that myth for you. And since I dispelled that myth, I'm going to let it go. And we are going to make the show happen anyway. I would like to introduce you to the panelists today. Ladies, if you would like to introduce yourselves and tell us what your ethnicity is, and then I have a few questions that I would like to ask you guys today. So we'll start with you.
My name is Xavia, singer, songwriter, bass player, talk show host, so many different things. And I'm very excited to be here today. And I know she's going to introduce herself, but my sister over here, she's not black, and she showed up. So we got to give her a little credit. But we'll get into that a little bit later.
And your ethnicity?
Oh, my ethnicity. I'm going into everything else. I am African American.
Okay.
There you go.
My name is Marnie, and I am Native American. And I also want to dispel the myth because they do say that we run on Indian time, and I was here on time as well.
My name is Latasha Pritchard. I am African American. I'm a culinary school student, and although I was a little late, I did show up.
Oh, CP time.
CP time. All right, we got that going. But this is going to be our differences panel for today. So we are going to discuss some of the differences, the similarities, and some of the myths that we have. Now, we may ask Marnie a few questions along the lines of not directly related to Indian, simply because I'm sure that she's had some people that mistook her for something other than Indian. Quite often. But we're going to get the show on the road. So my first question to you ladies is, were your parents married? And what roles did they play? Who wants to start?
I'll start. My parents were not married. My father was not involved in my life at all. He spent most of his life incarcerated. And I was just raised by my single mom. And I didn't really know until I was grown how that affected me. As I was growing up, I really didn't think that it affected me. But when I became an adult and I realized that my attitude towards men was based on how my mom treated men and based on my father not being there. And I had to make some adjustments because there were some cycles that I didn't want to repeat, and I made sure that I didn't, and I didn't repeat those cycles. My mom was in a lot of abusive relationships, and the way that she thought about men was that they were just lower than love. She talked to them any kind of way, she treated them any kind of way, and they in turn, disrespected her because of the way that she treated them. And she also had me at a very young age. She had me at 14.
Oh wow.
So, and she got involved in a lot of things that I did not want to get involved in, and I was successfully able to break all of those cycles. Okay. Initially, when I was young, in my teens and early 20s, I was going towards that, but then I just took it upon myself. My motto is life is what you make it. For me, my past really has nothing to do with who I am today. I don't let my childhood or my teenage years, and I don't look back and say, well, I'm like this because of that. I let all of that go, and I just move forward. And I think I'm successful in bringing all those cycles and just being a good, decent person.
Do you ever feel that maybe you went totally to the opposite of the way that your mom went?
Yes.
Okay.
For me, there's a lesson in everything. And she experienced a lot of bad things, and I did as well. So I take that lesson and say, well, I can do better. Not, well, this is what happened, so this is my excuse.
Mm-hmm.
That's, not the route that I take. So I did do a lot of things differently.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Okay.
I guess I should back up because I am Native American, but I am also white, Caucasian, if you will. I never knew my father. My mom was a single mom for my first few years. I've never met my father. He's never been involved in my life.
You've never met your father?
Never.
Did you ever meet your father?
Oh, yes. I was around my father. Once he got out of jail.
Okay. Go ahead.
But when I was just a couple years old, my mom got married.
Okay.
And so I have a stepfather who is white. So I have lived in two worlds. My stepfather's side of the family, German, 100% German. And then my mom's side of the family, everybody's Native American. So I did grow up with a stepdad, but I guess I've always identified with my mom's side of the family because that's the only parent that I ever really.
So what roles did they play? Did they play traditional roles? What roles did your mom and your stepfather play once she was married?
Well, I grew up in the country. So my youngest brother right now has taken over the family farm, which he's the 5th generation to take over the farm. It was my stepdad's family who came over from Germany, homesteaded the farm. So I grew up in a very traditional family. The boys do the physical work and they work outside, and the girls do the housekeeping, the cleaning, the ironing, all of the things that girls should do, the dishes. I used to get so upset because why don't they have to do dishes? Well, I have to do dishes, why don't they have to? But not thinking and realizing until I was older that it was because they were working physically outside.
Mm-hmm.
So,
because I'd rather do the dishes than have to shovel and poop after that.
they had to do all that stuff while I got to play with the kitty cats.
Right, exactly. So,
Very traditional.
Well, this is interesting to me already, and I'll definitely get into my upbringing. But it's just interesting just to see, even in this small, diverse group that we have, Native American and Caucasian and African American, and fathers aren't in either homes. Mm-hmm. It's almost a bigger situation and problem. But I know that's not what we're going to deal with here. But it's just it's a little disheartening, and to say that I'm a part of that group too. My mother and father were not married when they had me. I was actually in their wedding. I was probably, I don't know, maybe 5, when they got married. And it kind of came at the point where my mom she wanted to be with the man that fathered her child. And I think a lot of people, and I can't speak for everybody, but some people do that. This is the man that I've had a child with, and I don't want any other man trying to raise my child type of view. And so they got together, and unfortunately they did divorce because and I really believe because the foundation was really based on me, even though a lot of times they think that that's the best way to do it, mm-hmm. But you don't have to be together to raise a child, mm-hmm. And so but I grew up with my dad around. They divorced. I was in the wedding at 5. They divorced at 9. I was 9. Yeah, and but my dad and my mom are still friends to this day. I am their only child. My father has no other children. My mom has no other children. And like I said in the beginning, my mom, like I said, they were not married, but my mother is an evangelist, well, a preacher. And so the way she reared me, because after the divorce, my dad was in and out of my life, but she was the main, mom, dad figure for me, and she reared me to be married. And before you have kids, before you shack up and all that other stuff, so that's my upbringing, and I haven't always followed those rules. I've shacked up a couple times. I'm gonna just put it out.
Okay. Do you have kids?
I do not have children, and I think we were kind of talking about that earlier, because regardless of the things that I've kind of gone through in my life, I still have that in my head, like husband first, kids second. You know, because I could have kids, but it's by choice that I don't have them right now. You know, so and I don't have a husband either, so it's just kind of like, you know, I'm over 30. What should I do? You know, especially now in the society that we live in, where it's just so open, like do what you want to do. You know, who cares about marriage? You know, and I've actually heard couples say that they get along better when they're not married.
Wow. I've actually heard people say that too, but that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and I'm just like, wow, well come on, that's messing up my whole view here. I'm not waiting. And they're like, no, don't. You know, so, but that's a little bit of my history, my upbringing, kind of where I stand.
Well, I guess I might throw my little 2 cents in here. I did grow up with 2 parents. My parents were married. They were married when I got here. They've been married for 9 months. So I might have been you know, maybe I was a honeymoon baby. Because they were married, November 17th, and I was born August 23rd. So 9 months and 5 days later, I came along. So who knows how that worked out. But like you, I was kind of brought up that, you know, you get married. You know, I was brought up to be married, to be in a relationship, to be married. Yeah, my dad actually used to have conversations with me about boys and relationships. You know what I mean? I'm actually a daddy. I'm an only child, so I'm actually a daddy's girl. And so he actually had conversations with me about men and boys and how to relate to them, and, you know, little tricks and, not tricks. But you know, different tips and stuff, you know, as to how men react to different stuff. And, you know, of course it's not going to work with every man, but, you know, just some general stuff about how to relate to men and stuff. So I did grow up with a mother and a father. They're actually still married to this day. They've been married now for, well, let's see. I already told you that I was only 9 months old, so I can't tell you how long they've been married. I'll tell you how long they've been married. But they've been married for a minute. So, yeah, I just thought I'd
Give me some hope.
throw the family side in here, you know, being in a 2-parent family. So, with all of that said, what do you feel the role of a man is in a relationship or a marriage?
Provider. I was trying to get somebody else a chance.
It was in my head, the same exact word. I'm sure it was in yours.
The word that was in my mind was leader.
Yeah, leader, provider.
Well,
I'm a boss, so I mean, I like them taking the lead. I almost need an equal type of thing.
Well, I think what happens is, and I just had this conversation with a guy, is that he has to be qualified.
There you go.
If he's going to
There you
lead
go.
you,
There
he
you
has
go.
to be qualified to lead you. Because we were talking about what makes a man a man.
That's so
And
good.
I was saying, I don't really know, I can't really say exactly, but one thing I know is that when a man is a man, you just know.
And you naturally want to, and when they step up, like you said, when they're qualified, there's a natural submission that comes. It's just kind of like, ooh, do your
I absolutely
thing.
agree.
Yes, I'm so with you on that one.
I know for myself personally, I am, you know, I have a pretty good career.
Yeah.
I have raised my kids for many years alone now. And so I'm the leader in my house. I've had to take that role. I never wanted to be the main breadwinner. I never wanted to be all that. I wanted to be the way that it was when I grew up. You know, if something heavy needed to be moved, it wasn't me that did it. If there was a decision that needed to be made, I didn't want to be the one to have the last word.
Right.
But I was the one to have the only word. And so now that I'm at the age I am, and I'm 29, just in case.
I'm 29 too.
I'm 18.
I'm 29 as a 28-year-old daughter. How about that?
But so I know for myself that I have to have the type of man that I can't run over, if that makes sense.
That is so good. Yeah, that's what I
Because
mean. Yeah.
I am the kind of woman that wants that man that says, no, this is what we're going to do. I can't have the kind of man that says, what should we do? I need that boss, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's easy for me to be a little controlling, if you will, because I've had to take that role.
Okay, so what we're hearing is that even though we have limited ethnicities, but because women have been in that leadership role by themselves, regardless of the color lines, that woman becomes the boss,
or the leader, the boss.
You've been the leader for so long. So it's not just the black woman that feels like she needs a stronger man to come to her if that crosses the color lines.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah, and I think that, and ultimately, I think what we're saying is that although we are women that are strong and are able to lead, we want a man that can lead. Don't be intimidated by that. Just take your role.
Right.
You know, just step up to it. And then the thing is, when they get in a position, we can get in a position. You know, it's just a matter of us just knowing. But the thing is, if we don't know who we are from the beginning, if you don't have that foundation, or don't have a good mother, a good father, or just a good example, a good mentor, telling you what are you supposed to be, what is a man supposed to do, what is a woman supposed to do, then you won't act in that.
You know what? And that's another thing that I've talked about recently, as I used to watch The Millionaire Matchmaker, and one of the things that Patty Stanger said that really stuck in my mind was when she talked about women that give off male energy. And what happens is, I think when we are put into those leadership and dominant roles as the head of the family for so long, we almost forget what being a woman is really about.
And some of us have never really known.
Exactly.
Or even seen it, never seen it.
Because your mom had that leadership role if she was, you know, there by herself. So you never learned that feminine or see it. You know, how to see, I saw my mom and dad interact. We're forced into those roles. And you don't know how to step out of it.
And some of them can't help it. It's not even like you're doing it on purpose, as if you're trying to project a certain persona.
Right.
You've been this way since you were 8, and your mom had to go to work, and she said, take care of your little brother and sister. You know, for the people who have been in that situation. I'm an only child as well. But I do remember being home alone from the age of 6, because my mom had to go to work. And she had this job, she had that job, and it's like, okay, here's your dinner, heat it up, do your homework, take a bath, do this. So I've been taking care of myself for so long, and then I'm a single mom with 4 children, and I've been taking care of them alone for so long. I'm the leader, I'm the dominant one, and don't really know any other way to be.
Right. Wow, you just made me think about something too. In that same scenario, let's say that there was a boy in the household, and when you have that strong mother figure, and you have that strong woman role that's, you know, that's doing this, it almost makes sense as to why a lot of men are dependent on women to do everything for them. Like, it's like, no, this is not the role. What you saw your mama do, what she really was supposed to do, but she did it because she had to.
Exactly.
So that's the part, that's the, you know, I guess the question now is, how do we reverse? You know,
right.
I don't think we can almost. It almost has to kind of just start from here forward.
Yes, it's going to be hard to change some of the attitudes toward it. When I listen to a lot of men in different, on different social networks talk about, oh, I don't need a woman that can cook because I can cook. I'm like, so you're going to be the woman.
Well, I don't know if that means they're going to be the woman. No, but I don't like the way they said that. You know, I don't need a woman, so
I don't need a woman to cook because I can clean, I can do this, it's like they brag so much about being able to do the traditional female. But what I want to ask them is, can you do the male role? Can you be the provider? Because you're so good at what I'm supposed to be doing traditionally, but can you do what you're supposed to be doing traditionally?
Right.
You know, or are you going to wait for me to do what you're supposed to do? But then are you going to complain because the roles are flipped, and so now, you know, I'm too controlling.
Right.
I'm too aggressive.
And many of them are too soft.
So one thing that I wanted to say is that I had this thought that if you don't have a leader in the corporate world, in a business sense, then the department, the employees under that leader, the morale is down, they're not driven to be better employees, to work harder. And so I think that correlates with a relationship and having a man be that leader.
Right.
If you are a good leader, I believe you'll have a better partner, a better wife.
More respect.
More respect,
Yeah.
yes. You'll get the respect that a good leader will get. You will have a partner who wants to do more, to be better for you, to impress you, to take care of you.
Yeah. Absolutely, I agree.
I agree to that.
Okay.
So, now, what were you taught as you were growing up? As you were growing up, what were you taught about relationships and marriage?
Let me chime in on this, because I was listening to you earlier when you said your dad was telling you certain things about guys. When I was growing up, I didn't have anybody telling me anything. Not my mom, not my dad, not my grandparents, nobody. I went through all my adolescence and my teenage years, and it probably wasn't until I maybe turned 18 and started hanging, got my close friends, and we're all 18. So, they're 18-year-olds giving each other advice, 21-year-olds giving each other advice. I never had any advice. I played it all by ear.
Wow.
And made a bunch of mistakes. And as smart as I like to think I am, I was an honor student in school and everything. Made so many mistakes and just trial by error until I got to where, okay, this is what I need to do, this is what I not need to do. But it took a lot of, pitfalls that I fell in before I got to that.
Wow.
Now, I'm not thinking, as I'm listening to you, I'm trying to think, what was I told? What lessons did I learn because I was told? I don't think I was talked to. I think I just watched it.
Yeah.
But a
Because-
visual example can be
Something.
Well, I think it was very
Better than
important, and
nothing.
I'm thinking about this because I feel like I was led by example. I wasn't told
Sometimes
this is
that's
what
what's
you need
better.
to do, and it wasn't someone doing something different, but
Yeah.
saying, but this is not what,
Yeah,
don't do
yeah,
what I
yeah.
do,
Right.
do this. I just watched what happened, how our household ran. One thing is, when I was born, my grandfather was going to adopt me, and I do look at he's no longer with us, rest of his soul. But I do and did look at him as a father figure. And I remember spending a lot of time at my grandmother's house, and she made the meals and she served him, and when his soap operas came on, nobody made a noise in the house, and the house was spick and span. And I watched my grandma, they had 15 kids.
Jesus Christ.
That's a lot of kids.
Not to get off on a different subject, but my mom's youngest sister is the same age as me. She's 2 months older than me.
Wow.
So I grew up with her almost like a sister. So, and that was, my grandfather was her dad. So I kind of identified with him as my father's too. But he never talked to me about anything. He died when I was 13, but I just saw how that marriage ran, how he raised that family. And my grandpa had to say so about everything that every one of those kids did. My grandma made sure they got where they needed to go and had what they needed to eat and everything. But if there was a, can I go somewhere, can I do, can I have, ask your dad. And then that was his decision. And then it was the same way really in our house with my mom and then my stepdad. It was really watching the way that their relationship worked. Him doing the physical hard work. My mom did work outside of the home for a lot of those years, but there was 6 of us kids. So it was, again, my mom making sure that dinner was on the table at 5 o'clock every night. 3:30, I knew that I needed to get in that kitchen and start helping to cook. And by 4:45, I needed to be setting the table. The 3 of us girls needed to make sure those things were done. And then my dad sat at the head of the table. That was his spot, and he was the head of the table, and he was the head of the family.
So you had a very traditional role. That was very traditional.
It reminds me of this guy I was dating, and he said he was riding out to his mom's house, and then he was I forgot if it was mom or his dad, and I said he said somebody's mom. I said, well, where did your dad stay? And he said, with my mama. It was so unusual to see somebody whose parents were still together.
Right.
I felt stupid after I asked the question because you just
But you're so
assumed
used
that they
to-
weren't there
yeah.
or they're divorced or separated. But it was just the way that he looked at me.
What you think?
Like, my dad stays with my mama. Where do you think he stays? And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, that speaks volumes for our society.
It does. It
That's
does.
not the norm. It's unusual.
Mhm.
Even with your parents. It's just unusual.
And you know, see, the thing about our society now that I see as I just listen, and you know, I got more passionate as I just listen to people talk. We are a very selfish society. It is all about what your immediate gratification is at that time. You know, when I talk to women or on different social networks or do different radio shows or whatever, and I talk about the sisterhood, you know, and if you meet a man and he's got a woman or he's married or whatever the case is,
Right.
say no.
Yeah.
But they're like, if I want to do this, that, the other, you know, it's my decision, my body stuff. Okay, but do you realize that if this man is married and has kids, and if mama find out, you're affecting that child. And don't tell me that it's just that man. Well, he gonna cheat. Well, don't let it be you.
Right.
Because if each one of us decide it's not gonna be me,
Ooh, that's good.
then who is he gonna cheat with? I mean, he's got to have somebody to cheat with. And if we ever just decide it's not gonna be me, then there's a little kid that won't cry at night because they hear mommy and daddy arguing because mommy found out daddy was cheating.
And
You know.
I've been there, done that, and you have to, as I said, you can't use your past to make excuses for today. You have to get to a point where you say, well, I'm going to do this or I'm not going to do that. Just like when you get to a point where you say, I'm not going to smoke anymore.
Right.
Even though you've been smoking since 12. You can't just say, well, I've been doing this or everybody does this. You have to get to a point where you say, what's best for me? And I was thinking just earlier today, you said selfishness. I was thinking this morning, if we lived in a world that followed the golden rule, the world would be a perfect place. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The world would be perfect.
So true. My upbringing, I kind of shared a little bit of that with you guys earlier, but I was it's kind of a mix of both of you guys, where it was well, no, because with you, it was you saw, I saw, and I was told.
And I love the controversy. Whenever I start talking, it just set people off.